Welcome to the Scare Guy Show, everybody, the official podcast of thescareguy.com, where we as writers and filmmakers and fans discuss horror films, haunt, events, spooky news, and anything that's scary fun, and where we try to bring you the great discussions with some of horror's most iconic figures. And this week's guest definitely fills those shoes. She was a regular on the television series Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Knots Landing, General Hospital, and numerous guest starring roles. She played everyone's favorite TV mom in the unauthorized Brady Bunch, the Final Days film, and she portrayed the memorable character Yuta in an episode of the series Star Trek The Next Generation, and of course she portrayed the heroic character of Alice in A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master, and its follow-up film, A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. We are, of course, talking about the iconic actress Lisa Wilcox, our very special guest on tonight's show. Lisa, welcome to the Scare Guy Show.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
This is such an honor. You are such an icon in so many different ways. We've been looking forward to this for a while. And just, again, thank you so much for coming on the show. I do have to ask you, of course, we are going to talk a little bit about Alice. We have to talk about Alice because that's great. But there's something really cool that maybe some people don't know. Your character on Star Trek The Next Generation inspired like a long living memorial, something that fans can go out and buy. Can you tell us about that?
Well, it's interesting because, see, at the end of the episode, spoiler alert if you've never seen it, but I do get phasered away. Killed. So, but, and I'm actually known as the assassin, the character Utah. So back in the day, they used to, Monopoly, you know, the game Monopoly, they generated these iconic Monopoly boards based on certain series. And one of them was Next Generation. So the properties you land on are actually characters. And I am one of the characters that you land on. So I'm actually on the Monopoly board and I'm in the little booklet in it. And it's pretty cool. I say to my mom, well, I don't have a star on Hollywood Boulevard, but I am on the Next Gen Monopoly board.
That will probably last even longer.
Yeah.
Well, speaking about the Hollywood Walk of Fame and whatnot, and your storied career, can you just give us and our fans a little bit of a taste of, like, how did you get your start in Hollywood? Where did it start for you?
Gosh, my start really began just acting in general in Missouri, my first play. And then my dad landed a great job in Southern California. So we all moved out there. And I was a friend I had met at high school invited me to go on this audition at Buddy Ebsen's theater in Newport Beach. So I'm like, okay, sure, I'll come with you. So I went, and I actually, at this point, I had decided I wanted to go into the medical field. That was my plan. Anyway, I'm sitting in the audience, and the producer of this play kept tapping my shoulder and said, "You're auditioning, right? You're auditioning." I said, no. And I'm just sitting in the audience watching the auditions happen. Anyway, she was very persistent. I finally went up, I auditioned, and I landed the lead role of Girl in Lanford Wilson's play, The Hot L Baltimore, at an Equity Waiver Theater. And we received drama log awards and all kinds of things. And that's definitely when I got bitten by the bug. And it's through my theater training. That's what all I did. I went to UCLA, I studied theater, I have a theater arts degree. And that's how, by doing theater there, that's how I ended up with a manager and an agent, because that's what you need so they can submit you for projects. So that's how it was. And shortly after high school, college, graduating, about a month after, I landed a recurring role on General Hospital, and pretty much worked. So anyway.
Well, we're glad it worked out for you.
I took a long break though, because I did get married. I had 2 children and stuff, and I really wanted to be, be room mom and do all that stuff. But I'm back to acting again. They're all grown up now.
Fantastic. Luke.
Well, we're glad to have you back, and it's nice to meet you.
Hello.
But I'm Cheeseman here with scareguy.com. We didn't do our normal intros if we're listening to audio portion. I'm part of the scareguy.com. I'm also a screenwriter, but it is an honor to be here with you today, Lisa. And something we do on the Scare Guy show, we love to talk about where did your love of film, or did you like horror when you were younger? Like, where did those kind of origins start for you? Were you interested in horror?
I was totally into horror. I loved vampires, paranormal, all of that stuff. I grew up in Missouri, and mom would take me and my sister to the library, like summertime in the library, and check out I was always checking out books about ghost stories. The first novel I read, I was in 4th grade, and it was not on the reading list, was Dracula, Bram Stoker's Dracula. And I've always been fascinated by things that are mysterious and scary ever since. So it's kind of, maybe not a coincidence that I ended up in the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Yeah, I was a huge Nightmare on Elm Street fan. When I got the opportunity to audition, I was like so excited because I absolutely loved the series, and I loved Dream Warriors. It was great. So yeah.
Very cool.
Now, moving into that, can you tell us, how you got that part and what that auditioning process was like?
Yeah, definitely. So my manager said he had submitted me for this role in Nightmare 4, and I was so excited. But then he called me and he said, "Well, they're not going to see you. You have to understand. Back then, I had platinum blonde, virgin blonde hair, all the makeup. I looked like a cheerleader. I played cheerleaders. I never was a cheerleader. That was not my thing at all. But I looked like, that's what I didn't look like the role of it. I didn't look like Alice Johnson, what they had in mind, So, and Annette Benson, who was the casting director, she's the one who told me the story, is that they auditioned hundreds and hundreds of actresses in Los Angeles, like hundreds. They couldn't find their Alice. So they went to their reject pile. And they gave me a shot to audition. So I read the script and I just loved the character. I totally could bond. I was a total daydreamer myself growing up. I lived in books. I just lived in books. I was such a bookworm. So anyway, I read the script, and so I just went in. I wore no makeup. I had dirty hair. I wore pale yellow, which is like my worst color. And I auditioned, and then I had a callback. And I think the callback was with Tuesday Night, Kristen, who played Kristen. And anyway, that was a Friday. I got married on that Sunday, 150 people wedding. And I was actually on my honeymoon when I learned that I had gotten the role of Alice Johnson.
Are you serious? Okay, I got to jump in here. Sorry, Jake. That's pretty amazing. That's pretty. So, because I am a child of the 80s. I grew up in the 80s, and the Nightmare on Elm Street films, they were just like me and my friends, we would just wait for the next one to come out. So I can't imagine being here in Hollywood, and I was back east, and they were like the biggest thing of the day. So what was it like for you to learn that you just booked a role next to the biggest villain of the day? I mean, this was huge probably for you.
Yeah, it was a big deal. It was definitely a big deal. No question about it. And then it ended up being like this summer blockbuster, and a lot of amazing films came out that summer, but Nightmare on Elm Street just week after week after week, the Dream Master just was number one for a long, and it was, articles in the paper and the reviews and all this. I mean, it was exciting. No doubt about it. It was really exciting.
Very cool. Jake.
Well, hi, Lisa. I'm Jake. I'm a part of the show. I do mostly cover collectibles and stuff, but I'm a huge horror fan. I grew up with Luke. We went to school since we were kindergarten or something. So
he actually bought these gloves and this mask, and I took them from him.
He stole them. I bought those.
I have a Freddy glove, of course, too. I love my Freddy glove. Yeah. Yes. And Halloween. Halloween is like Christmas to me, and I totally deck the house out, and the Freddy glove is on the coffee table.
Nice. What I was just gonna say, I love how you were talking about, being influenced by movies and using your imagination, reading books a lot and stuff. And it reminds me of when I was a kid, and I was, I must have been 6 years old. And my mom and I went to a video store. We were probably going to rent, an American Tail or something like that. And they had this huge cardboard cutout standee for part 5, The Dream Child. It is an image of Freddy sitting there with his claw and he's standing over this crazy looking crib. It looks like something like
pram.
It's like something H.R. Giger designed, like spikes and all this stuff. And as a kid, I'm just looking at that and I'm like, I don't know what that is. Like I'm intrigued, but I'm terrified. I don't know what it is because no internet. Like, and I think I kind of knew who Freddy was just because as a kid, it's like playground stuff. Everyone like knows like the movies and stuff, but like I couldn't just be like, hey mom, what's that? What is that? Like, what's going on here? Why is there a baby? Was the baby involved? What's happening? So I think that's
thanks for sharing.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, as like growing up in the 80s and having that, using your imagination, because I didn't see that movie, obviously for years later, but for such a long time, it just lived in my head of just that poster image. I'm like, I'm making up stories in my head. Like, what is that about?
Yeah,
and
interesting. What was the first Nightmare on Elm Street you saw? Which one?
I think the first one I saw all the way through, I think was Freddy's Dead. But I have memories of my grandma would always rent all these movies and she didn't know what they were. She was like, oh, it's Halloween. Halloween time, I'll just rent some scary movies. So she'd rent like Nightmare on Elm Street, all these things. I'm a little kid, it was like a game almost. I put it in and watch until I was like, I can't take it out, and I like fast forward 2 parts. So I remember seeing clips of the original, but yeah, I'm a big fan of all of them. And you are a big part, obviously, of the 2 of the most popular of the series. Was there ever any talk of you reprising your character in any of this other sequels or any future things? Did they ever?
No. This, I'm hoping that there will be a fan film. Those are becoming quite the thing, and I think that's the only way the story of Alice and Jacob is ever going to be resolved, which is really a shame. I mean, Warner Brothers has like this little gold in their hand, you know what I mean? And I can't tell you how many people are like, what happened to Alice and Jacob? What the heck? Why didn't they end it? So who knows?
Well, because in so many of those films, the final girl she doesn't survive to the next film sometimes, or in the next film she's offed very quickly. You survived, you and Jacob both. So let me just ask you, if this was a real movie, what would they be doing today?
I feel that they may have stayed in the same town, actually. And I'm not a screenwriter, I'm not, but I definitely think that if Alice were to have her death scene, it would definitely have something to do with protecting her son, who would be 40 now here, or maybe my grandchild, I think it would be, I think it would be interesting to add in grandchildren, actually.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah, that would be very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we ran into the actor who played your son at a brewery. I didn't talk to him, but I recognized him. Like, he was at a nearby brewery in Glendale. And
oh my gosh!
What was it like working with him? And do you ever run across him or stay in touch with Whit at all?
I haven't. I never did. Of course, he was just a little baby boy back then. It wasn't like, hey, you want to trade numbers? So no, I haven't. But I know that Peter has been trying to get in touch with him because I know there's a lot of fans that would love to get his autograph and meet him. Yeah, I think the cast members that I've stayed in touch with the most definitely have been from Nightmare 4. Inevitably, don't know why, but we are family. I mean, really are. Robert is like, I call him Uncle Robert, And Tuesday night we had a business together for almost 10 years.
Wow.
Toy Newkirk, who played Sheila, she had moved to New York for like 10 years. When she came back to LA, she lived with me for a year. Brooke Fees, who Bug Girl turns into Cockroach, Debbie. My eldest
I hate that scene.
I know, great scene, right? I know that thing with that break. Oh, it's so great.
Rips her elbows out.
Her son and my eldest son were the same age, so we would go bowling and together and stuff. So it's just, and like Danny and All of them. We have stayed really good friends.
That's for us that are fans. That just does our heart good, because sometimes you just want to believe that there was something good that came. That's very cool to hear that. I love hearing.
Yeah, I like to say Annette Benson cast Friendships for Life, essentially. You know what I mean? So yeah, I feel really grateful, because obviously all the projects and actors that we do, you do a movie, you do a series, you may never see those people ever again, and that's more common. Doing theater, oh my gosh, and you work hard together and all this, you would think that those friendships would stay, but no, you just never see people again. So I'd say it's very unusual that the Nightmare Forecast that we have stayed so close, and doing conventions helps too, of course.
Now, speaking of Freddy, what was it like the first time you met Robert? Did you meet him first in costume to get that first reaction, or did you kind of hang out with Robert before he's Freddy?
No, I met him on set and he was in costume. Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, he was in costume, but talking but he was normal. You know what I mean? He doesn't stay in character the whole day or anything like that, and we had many chats in the makeup trailer because a rinse was put on my hair. I had virgin blonde hair, and they asked me to make it red. And so they would put a rinse on my hair every single morning, which was quite the process, and blow dry, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so Robert and I were in the makeup trailer quite a bit.
That's cool.
Together.
Can I ask you, speaking about being on set, and I think that were both films filmed here in Los Angeles?
Yes.
So if you had to think back of maybe one or two, something that stood out as one of the most fun scenes to film, what would you say? What was one of your favorite scenes to film?
Well, one of my favorite films is actually, I love the moment in the kitchen when Dad comes home and he's drunk. And I'm like, well, we waited a long time, and I serve him a salad, and he says, "What am I, a rabbit?"
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And Alice goes into daydream and turns around and just socks it to him, man, and slams that bowl, and why taking it out on me, and all that. I love that moment. I think it's very, very powerful.
Yeah.
And I love the scene in the bedroom with Andras and the fish tank thing. And I love scenes in it's really hard to choose. All the stuff in the church was just a blast.
That was a beautiful
and just wearing that gear felt so good, instead of being the meek Alice, but that stuff was really cool too. I love the scene at the school and Kristen's smoking a cigarette. I'm sitting on the rock and we're talking about daydreams and how do you know so much? And essentially, I feel like the script is just really tight and has a wonderful character arc for Alice. My gosh, from what she goes. And that, of course, is a dream role for us actors. So I couldn't answer your question. I'm sorry.
No, that was fantastic. I'd like to feel like you're giving us a feel of kind of what it was like on set and what it was like working with all these actors. And Jake, I know that you have a question.
I was just going to say, you do have one of the best, getting ready for battle montages. You're all the stuff together.
Right. I know. Right. Yeah. I think it's great. And the music and everything. Oh my God. It's so cool. But it's interesting, something for y'all to understand too, is that we don't film in sequence, right? That just doesn't happen. You're filming, page 67 in the morning, and then you're filming page 3 in the afternoon kind of thing. It's all over the place. So my biggest, I wanted it to be believable, her character arc, right? So I would write in for every scene through the whole script, I wrote who had died by then. So if we are doing scene 62, I'm like, oh, these two have died. So I'm at this level of strength, as it were. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that was quite something I've never had to do before, to maintain the consistency and believability of Alice going from so meek to, so strong. So it was interesting. And then in the middle of filming, we were getting towards the end. I think we had about two or three more weeks to go. I was coming home. It was 1 a.m. and I'd have my script bag and my purse, and I'm at my back door, and there's about a size 14 tennis shoes. I look up and up and up and up, and there's this huge man who proceeds to mug me. Okay.
Jeez.
Yes.
Wow.
Mugs. His huge hand is, and I wear glasses for driving for distance, and his huge hand goes over my face, and I go like this. I'm screaming, and fortunately, a neighbor heard the commotion upstairs. It was like 1 a.m, and said, "What's going on down there?" Anyway, the guy then threw me on the ground. I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm raped! What's that?" And again, and he did manage to pull my script bag. I landed on my handbag, my purse, but he pulled the strap of the other bag, my script bag, and he stole my script. So
no.
anyway, and then moments later, my husband comes running out with a butcher knife because he heard it too, and he was expecting me home, So anyway, just a little side note there.
Yeah.
Crazy.
A little bit of the seedier side of Hollywood.
Yeah,
That's
right.
terrible. That's
Yeah.
Jake or Luke, we do only have a few minutes left here, so let's make these.
I just had one more thing I was going to say. One of my favorite scenes in part 4 is when Robert plays the school nurse.
No, I love that scene.
Well, that was
great.
Yeah. When,
and the nails,
yeah.
scary, the whole thing. Oh, that was great.
I'd forgotten all about that. It's so funny. How hard was it to film that, I guess? Was he just cracking you up, or
Well, he was working with Kristen that day because she's the one who had hit her head, and she was
that's right.
in for me. So I didn't even see that until I saw the movie, and I was like, oh,
yeah.
I knew the scene because I had the script, but but yeah, that was pretty funny. Yeah, there's so many really just fun moments and great lines, great music, I think too. Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Oh yeah. There was some there's some music in that first one. I was like, I don't remember this song being in here. I don't remember it being from the 80s. And today, like one of the montage scenes, I was like, wait, I remember this. It was great. Luke, you had a question, something about baby Freddy, adult Freddy. What was that?
Yeah, so there's so many, like Jake was mentioning, there's so many different versions of Freddy and all his scares and things he does. There's Big Freddy, there's Baby Freddy that you worked with. What versions of him did you like the best? And was Big Freddy or Baby Freddy scarier to you?
Baby Freddy. Oh, is that not the most amazing Baby Freddy? He's so creepy. Oh, I love it. I love that. Yeah, Baby Freddy.
Well, that's cool.
Great. Wonderful design.
And what other kind of things did Freddy do within your 2 films that you did that you thought were kind of cool? Because I know they did that comic part and part of it that was pretty cool. The special effects were just amazing. I'd have to say, really hold up. And once they've converted to HD, it just looks amazing. They really put some time and effort into that and really kind of mastered it by then. So what were some of your favorite scenarios that Freddy created that either you were part of or that were part of the film?
Gosh, I'm not sure how to answer that. I mean, really all I can say is that he said he has Freddy down. Freddy is seductive. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He's playful. He's certainly evil. And Robert has just embodied it, and it's physically and his posturing, his everything. He's a remarkable actor, and how Freddy has evolved to, what he became, but he knows how to work that glove. He knows how to work the hat. He just makes great choices as an actor.
And the sunglasses too on the beach. That was a great movie.
Yeah. Love that. And how often do you see a beach scene in a horror film?
It's on your shirt, isn't it, Jim?
Oh,
Jim, do you
there he is.
Yeah.
Well, here's Freddy at the beach. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Oh my God. I can see. Thank you.
It's one of the best things. There is that was such a creative thing, and it's almost like an homage to Jaws. Dun 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 dun, going through the sand and getting there. It was great. Hey, I do have that. We only have just a minute left here, but we can't let you go without asking you, what is? I was reading something about Stop the Nightmare. Is this an upcoming project or something? Can you tell us about that?
you guys can check it out. Hashtag Stop the Nightmare. So this is during COVID. And in the beginning, so many actors and songwriters and comedians were coming up with really interesting things about COVID. Did you see my corona? It used to be called coronavirus, remember? And instead of my Sharona, it was like my corona. I mean, it's freaking hysterical, and this is very early on, like March of last year, I would say. So I was thinking, gosh, I really want to contribute something. And it was like midnight, and I went, I know, I'm going to rewrite the lyrics of 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. And said 1, 2, Corona's coming for you. 3, 4, never see. Anyway, so came up with this idea, and then I called Heather Langenkamp. I called actor friends and said, hey, you want to participate in this? Absolutely. Now, we were not seeing each other. We did, and Mark Patton and 5 states and 2 countries. We managed to do this. My friend in Chicago shot it with the neighbor kids' permission, with the moms and all that. And we put this together, this little video. You can see it on YouTube, or you can go to the website, Stop the Nightmare 2020.
Stop the Nightmare 2020. We will make sure to link to that on the website.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Any closing questions from Luke or Jake? Any closing questions before we say goodbye?
What were the differences between Nightmare 4 and Nightmare 5 for you? Like, in a sense of like production, or the way you perform the character? Like, what differences did you see? Or did the special effects go even bigger? Like, what did you see as the difference between the 2 films you got to work on?
We're still doing a lot of practical effects and whatnot. I think for me, I had a lot more screen time for 5, and a lot of dialogue, and a lot of acting where nothing scary was happening. You know what I mean? Trying to convince my friends, this is real and what we need to do, and all of that. So, and actually 5 has the least amount of screen time of Freddy, Robert.
Oh, wow.
Interesting enough. Yeah. Of all the films. So I don't know. It was, definitely a very different subject matter. I mean, it really touched on a lot of taboo things. Abortion, teen pregnancy, sex before marriage. Then we have Greta and anorexia, bulimia, and the pressures of parents. And we have Dad, who's now a recovered alcoholic. Yay. But there's so much going on in 1989. That was a lot of subject matter to cover. Now those topics, we talk about it over dinner, no big deal, but then it was, much more taboo. So I like to call it the brave little film.
That's cool. And Jake, last question, Jake. Oh, go, hurry.
Just one more. I won't ask any more. But what was like your favorite kind of like blooper or just funny moment that happened on set of either of the 2 films that happened?
Oh gosh, I don't think we had time. I mean, bloopers. I don't remember any, but I will say it was very interesting when we come to the church scene, and I'm in my gear. So now I have stunt doubles, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, there would be days where I'd see like 5 Alice's walking around. They have the wig to look like Alice. 5 of me walking around. That was very, very interesting.
That's cool.
Very interesting.
That's good.
And the other last thing too is in 5, I had to wear Freddy makeup for a day. Yes.
Oh,
I had a day, and I'm telling you, I would accidentally look in the mirror and go, "Oh my God!" Yeah, it was. I think I had it on like 11 hours, 42 minutes, and 6 seconds. Okay, because I couldn't wait to get it off.
Just peel it off like Robert. When you're done, he used to just peel it off angrily and just throw it down.
Yes, ripping his skin up, whatever. Because it's quite an amount of time to get that stuff off too. Oh my gosh. That kind of makeup is pretty intense.
Fantastic. Hey, Jake, real quick, it's got to be a quickie. Do you have the last one?
Yep. Lisa, at what age did you show your kids your movies?
Oh, yeah.
13.
That's about right.
Okay. Yep.
That's about
13.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, Lisa, thank you so much for being a guest with us today on the Scare Guy Show. My last question is, where can people find you online, and how can people find out are you still meeting fans, or is there a way for people to kind of like, meet up with you or whatever.
Yes, definitely. Obviously, all the conventions and nothing was going on much last year, but it's an avalanche this year. I have a website, Lisa E. Wilcox. My initials lisaewilcox.com, and I'm getting much better about posting where I'm going to be, so you can see a bunch of places. I've already done about 30,000 miles this year alone.
Wow.
Houston, Dallas, Orlando, New Jersey, whatever. And I have a whole bunch more coming up. So that's where you can go. Instagram is the Lisa Wilcox. I don't have the little blue thing because my Facebook account got hacked and I lost anyway, it's the Lisa Wilcox on Instagram, which I do a lot more than I do Facebook, but I'm on Facebook too, Lisa Wilcox.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Luke,
Well,
where can we find you, Luke, real quick?
I'm Cheeseman, and you can find me on Instagram and on Twitter at Cheese on Couch, and also on The Scare Guy.
Jake.
I'm Jake. You can find me on Instagram at the Jacob System, and then occasionally I'm on the Con Guy and the Scare Guy shows.
You can find me at Jim Fry LA on Twitter, James D. Fry on Instagram. Just follow us here at thescareguy.com and make sure you follow Lisa, find out what she's doing. We'll make sure that we put the links here with the podcast. Lisa, thank you so much. We can't wait to find out what you're doing next, but you know what? I'm just going to go back and watch some more Freddy. I love it. Love it so much. Thank you so much. You've been so much fun today.
Thank you so much. I had a great time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.